All right, let's jump right in, because some pretty big news just came out of Brazil. And honestly, it has the whole blockchain world buzzing. We're talking about a really sudden, totally unexpected pivot from their digital currency project, Drex. So in this explainer, we're going to break down what this move really tells us about the future of privacy on the blockchain. And trust me, it's fascinating.
So for a while now, anybody who's anybody in the digital currency space has had their eyes glued to Drex. But just last week, everything changed. News dropped that sent this huge ripple of, well, uncertainty through the whole community. So what on earth actually happened?
Okay, here's the headline. Drex, which is Brazil's flagship central bank digital currency project, just announced it's ditching blockchain technology for its next phase, Phase 3. Now, for a project that was so tied to the blockchain world, this was a bombshell. No other way to put it. And it immediately kicked up all these questions about the future of other projects that were built around it.
And that brings us to the main event here, which is all about a company called Harpo. You see, Harpo was designed specifically to give Drex a supercritical privacy layer. So when the very foundation your project is built on just vanishes overnight, what do you even do?
This is the million-dollar question, right? It's the one everyone started asking. It's such a classic case of interdependence. I mean, if Harpo's main job was to bring privacy to Drex's blockchain, and now Drex says we're not using a blockchain, well, you can see why everyone just assumed Harpo was in some serious trouble. But here's the twist. Harpo's response was not at all what anyone saw coming. Instead of, some crisis memo or a defensive blog post, they put out a statement that was anything but concerned. Actually, it was just shockingly confident. They literally said, and I'm quoting here, "The shift in Drex does not impact Harpo's evolution. On the contrary, it reinforces our belief." I mean, what a powerful and totally counterintuitive thing to say. It just makes you wonder, what belief exactly are they talking about here? So this just flips the whole narrative on its head. The assumption on the street was, well, Harpo is suddenly irrelevant. But the reality, according to them, is that their mission is now stronger than ever. How is that even possible? While Harpo's take is that Drex's decision wasn't a failure of blockchain tech itself. Nope. They're hinting that this pivot actually points to much deeper, much more complicated issues. The structural and political challenges you run into when you try to roll out this kind of tech on a national scale. So the problem isn't the code, it's the context.
Okay, so to back up this pretty bold claim, Harpo laid out 4 key reasons. Let's call them 4 pillars that explain exactly why their project is still essential with or without Drex using a blockchain.
Their whole argument really comes down to these 4 things. They say their solution is universal, it has a ton of use cases way beyond Drex, it's built on rock-solid tech, and it's got an operational infrastructure that's not going anywhere. So let's break down what each of those really means. First up, and this is probably the most important point, Harpo was never built just for Drex. From day one, it was designed to be a privacy protocol for any EVM-compatible network, and that basically means any network that works like Ethereum, which, let's be honest, is a huge chunk of the crypto world. So think of it less like a custom key made from one specific door and more like a master key that can open an entire building of different locks. Its fate was never really tied to just one project. Second, the potential uses for this thing are massive. This was never just about a central bank currency. We're talking about bringing real privacy to DeFi, to confidential payments between businesses, to the entire exploding world of asset tokenization. The need for privacy isn't just in one place, it's everywhere in this ecosystem. And the third pillar is the tech itself. At its core, Harpo uses what's called a ZK, or Zero-Knowledge protocol. Now, in simple terms, that's just a fancy cryptographic method that lets you prove something is true without having to reveal the secret information itself. It's basically the holy grail of digital privacy. And that fundamental need for secure, private transactions, that doesn't just go away because one project changes its mind. So let's pull the lens back a bit. This whole situation really forces us to think bigger. This isn't just about one project's little pivot. It's a huge lesson on the immense challenge and the long timeline it takes to build the future of digital privacy. Drex's move really shines a light on what Harpo calls nation-scale privacy. This isn't something you just code up in a year. We're talking about creating these unbelievably complex security and privacy solutions for an entire country's digital backbone. Harpo's take is that this stuff just takes a lot of time and a lot of technical maturity, something the whole ecosystem is still working on. So the Drex pivot isn't a no, it's more of a not yet.
And this really gets to their final most important point. You know that massive, long-term, super complex challenge of actually achieving nation-scale privacy? That is the exact reason Harpo was created in the first place. So they don't see themselves as a casualty of the Drex news. They see themselves as a critical part of the long-term solution.
So where does that leave all of us? Well, Harpo's vision for the road ahead seems pretty clear. First, the fundamental need for privacy is still there. In fact, you could argue it's stronger than ever. Second, this journey is a marathon, not a sprint. And third, their job is to just keep their heads down, keep building, and keep evolving their protocol to solve these incredibly tough problems.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought. Harpo sees this whole thing as a confirmation of their mission, not a rejection of it. But what do you think? Does this pivot signal a bigger problem for getting blockchain adopted by big institutions, or is it just a temporary detour on the long, winding road to a more private digital future? It's a really crucial question for everyone in this space. Thanks for tuning in.